Big doors, small hinges. So how in the world is that spiritual? Well, of course, we know everything is. The thing about doors and hinges, so let's just do this together for a moment. Just close your eyes and imagine a beautiful door. Single door, double door, whatever comes to mind. It can be simple, ornate, big, beautiful door. And then draw your attention to where the hinges are. And the hinges are what attaches the door to the frame, what holds the door in place. And you will notice that in proportion to this big beautiful door, or these big beautiful doors, the hinge is small by comparison. There is a great proportional difference. And yet, it is the hinge that enables the door to swing free, the door to be a door, the door to serve its purpose. So now gently return your attention to right here and now, while keeping the image of the doors and the hinges over here somewhere handy in your awareness. So why would that even be important? Why would it be important to notice the proportional difference between a hinge and a door? How many in the room ever even gave two thoughts to hinges before? Only when they're loose. Okay, awesome. So has anyone ever had a door that didn't open properly? Whether it was a doorway or a cabinet door, where it didn't open properly. And often, even almost always, the issue is with the hinge. Not because the hinge is bad or wrong. We can't blame the hinge. It's because there's something a little awry with how the hinge is mounted, either on the frame or on the door. Or it's loose, right? You said only when it's loose. And when the door isn't working properly, how are we with that? Not good. It's what I call a toleration, right? It's something, maybe there are people in this room who just go and get the screwdriver or whatever is required to take care of it right then. But I'm not one of those people. I tend to let it go for a little while thinking, I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to fix it, or I'll get help fixing it. But I don't take care of it right away. So how in the world is that spiritual? So I'm going to explain. Doors are our intentions. Doors are our affirmations. Doors are our prayers. Doors are the the ideas, the dreams that we hold for our life as greater than it is. Hinges are the words we use. Oh. Big doors. Small hinges. So let me just give you an example. So I'm just going to assume that everybody in the world is holding or intending or affirming something in their life to shift into an ever greater something else. I think it's safe to assume that. Am I in good company here? Okay. Are you sure? Okay, good. So help me complete these sentences. Money doesn't. Heart disease runs. Oh, let me repeat for the recording. So money doesn't grow on trees. Heart disease runs in the family. Let's see, what other juicy little ones did I write down here? You have to work. You have to work hard for whatever it is, right? I'm probably too old. Young, short, tall, whatever the two is. But you notice that how we end those sentences is always about limitation, right? It's always about something that's in the way. It's always a reason. I'm being nice now because we didn't originate any of this. Any of the phrases that I just used, none of us are the originators of those phrases because they have been around for generations. The thing is that they're still around. And how do I know? Because you were able to come up with the end of the sentence just like that. So everybody here is familiar with the idea of collective consciousness or race thought. Yes? Anybody need a little clarification about what that is? I'm happy to help. So race thought or a collective idea, and it doesn't have to be the entire world. It can be a family unit that shares a collective idea. It can be a spiritual center that shares a collective idea. It can be any group, regardless of size, that shares a collective idea. The thing is that all of these collective ideas are in the greater race thought swirl that's happening, that's available, that has, unfortunately, access to us. Because we wouldn't intentionally anymore. The people we are today, the person I am today, would not intentionally access the thought that I'm to anything, for anything. Or that there's anything that runs in my family that implies that I have a susceptibility to it. I wouldn't access that thought. You wouldn't hear me say that thought. In fact, when I hear one of my grandchildren say something like that, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. But that's the person I am today. And the person I am today came to that clarity through work. Because had I not been exposed to a different way of seeing and being, I might still be caught in the rut of those old ideas. And do you know notice how those old ideas, as I've already said, none of them are helpful. None of them are helpful. I'm working with a client right now who wants to start every conversation by telling me how hard it is out there. And in that out there, his intention is to find this perfect work. But he begins by telling me how hard it is out there. Anybody else telling anybody else? I'm not saying you are. I know we're all the exception. But is anybody you know ever saying how hard it is out there? Right? Well, whose idea is that? And don't we know that when we say, think, have an idea with conviction, with feeling, that we are adding fuel to the raised thought? It's just like so imagine a service station, and we're the gas dispenser thing. What are those called? Oh, pump. And Race Thought just pulls up its car and we just fuel it up by investing our attention and energy on those ideas, on those beliefs. Now, what's this got to do with doors and hinges? So we're affirming, we're intending, we're focused on, we have our practitioner helping us stay focused on, we have everybody we know who prays praying with us for this outcome, whatever it is: health, wealth, happiness, peace of mind, whatever it is. New house, new job, new whatever. And we're using words about ourselves, the most typically, thinking in words about other people and circumstances, in deprecating, negative, judgmental ways. We're thinking in limitation. We're speaking in limitation, even though we would sit in this room and insist that we have committed our lives, that we have our spiritual practice every day, where we affirm that all of life is a pattern of perfection, and that pattern offers itself up to us 24/7. And that everything that we need is at hand. And then we have these conversations with ourselves or with other people. So you can see why the door doesn't swing right. Because one hinge is mounted this way, another hinge is mounted a little sideways, another hinge is mounted this way. No door can function optimally with that as the circumstance. And besides, it doesn't feel good. We do our spiritual practice, humana, 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 and we're there in the morning, and everything's beautiful, and we walk out into the world, and kazam! Something happens that takes us out of the humana, that takes us out of that centered, knowing, certain place. So what the heck do we do about it? What do we do about it? Well, the first thing is that we notice. Rather than just having this mindless and often very unconscious running dialogue, either about ourselves or about other people, or both, situations, circumstances, conditions. So there was a great example of this in the story that you shared this morning. Because worry, what is worry but a projection about an outcome that we don't want? And as you've heard me say many times, we don't need to rehearse that anymore. Because we're all experts at it. And we're all as prepared as we will ever need to be, no matter what we think. Not because we have worried, not because we have anticipated the worst, and the worst, and then the worst, and then the really worst, and then the worst version of that. No, because we have the tools, every tool we will ever need to be prepared for anything, we have it. Because we are it. We aren't waiting for a door to happen. We aren't waiting for a door to open. We aren't waiting for a door to work. There is no more waiting. We are the door. And if we aren't swinging the way we want to, if we aren't swinging the way we want to, we're the ones who put the hinges up. We're the ones who keep them where they are. We're the ones who tolerate our own negation of what it is that we say we want. And then we say all the reasons we can't have it. Or we share our dreams with others who want to say, really? Really? Why in the world would you go to the Galapagos? Ew. Aren't there crawly things there? Like big crawly things? Why in the world would you want to step into this position of responsibility? Aren't you done with that? Hasn't anybody ever been asked that question? Aren't you done with that? Aren't you ready to just take it easy? And everything in you is saying, but wait, this is calling me. This is calling me. So, one of the things about doors and hinges is we don't ask somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to fix the hinge. Or start shaving the door. And anybody who has ever done that knows that it's like trying, it's like trying to level a table by just trimming a little bit off of each leg. And then you end up with a coffee table, if you're lucky. All right. Yehuda Berg, who is a New Thought rabbi, says words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. We can choose to use this force constructively with words of encouragement or destructively with words of despair. Words have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm. So it's like fire. Fire can be good, right? It can be used for good. It can heat our food. It can keep us warm. And it can also damage. It can burn our house down. But we get to decide where we are investing our energy and attention, how we are investing our energy and attention, and how really committed we are to having the life we imagine in whatever way that is for each of us. And maybe today it's just one small little thing that could be a little better. And tomorrow it's a bigger thing that could be a little better or could be a lot better. Or why not? Could be the whole combination plate. Instead of just putting it together piece by piece. We get to decide how committed we are, how willing we are, how ready we are, how available we are to having that life. And then we have to show up for it. We have to show up for it. We have to show up as it, minding our hinges. Making sure that the hinges match, are an energetic match to what it is that we believe, or at least we hope we believe. I heard that laugh. Thich Nhat Hanh counsels us to use loving speech. This is without exception. So it starts here. It's loving speech right here. Marianne Williamson, you guys all know, right? So what is it that she says? What is it that she says? Who are we not to be fabulous? Who are we not to live this life that we imagine? I'll tell you what, if you can imagine it, it already is. Let me say that again. If you can imagine it, it already is. So, let's say that you were willing to just step in to the power of that. If you can imagine it, it already is. Then get out of the house. Because houses have nothing to do with doors or hinges. They're like gucky stuff that just gum up the works. Because houses are not up to us, no matter how much our brain wants to think they are. They are not up to us. When we are creating, co-creating, cooperating with creation in allowing something grand to happen, something mind-blowing, something life-expanding beyond what we can imagine. Those houses are not up to us. You know why? Because we don't have those houses. We don't know those houses. Those houses are not based on what we already know. Those houses are not based on what we've already experienced. Those houses are in the all potential, all possibility, all opportunity Rolodex. That's where those houses are. And we get ourselves into such a stint over the house. Well, I want to tell you, Getting ourselves into a snit over the house is like bosom buddies with worry. Because once we start imagining how, we also start imagining how not. Don't we? That's right. Okay. So we have this entrenched habit, or what feels like an entrenched habit, of talking maybe less than supportively to ourselves. I'm being really generous here. And so what? I don't care how entrenched it feels. I don't care, not that I don't have compassion, which I do, so of course I care. But I don't really care about the story. I don't really care about the story. I don't care about who and who and who and who and who all the way down from the beginning of time said that this was how it was, or how you should be, or how you shouldn't be, or what you should believe about yourself, or what you shouldn't believe about yourself. I don't care, and neither should you. Because they were only sharing with us what they believed. It really didn't have anything to do with us anyway, or not very much. Because they were giving us either what they believed we needed or what they wanted to believe for themselves. It doesn't matter. What matters is getting excited about doing it differently. So we think about changing a habit as being, what's this? Hard. And it's going to take a long time. Oh, woe is me. Well, why bother? Why bother? On the other hand, every single one of us has learned something new at some point in our life that when we were approaching it, we went, I don't know if I can do this. Every single one of us. Walking. Getting from that crawling thing to the walking thing was a huge deal. But the urge, the propulsion to do it was greater than the fear. Riding a bike. What else? Come on. Roller skating, ice skating, which I never mastered. I spent way too much time on my on the ice, sitting. A new job that was different from the old job. I couldn't imagine using a calculator because my dad was all about doing it the long way, right? I couldn't imagine using a calculator. And now I cannot imagine not using a computer and not being really comfy using a computer. Now, I know we all have different levels of comfiness with computers, but we all have electronics in our lives of some kind that we didn't always have, and we had to learn how to use them. And we may have held an idea before we learned how to use them that it was going to be hard. And now it's not. So what happened to the feelings, to the fear, to the hesitation, to the doubt? Where did it go once we learned how to do what it was? Once we were actually in the situation and it was fine. It was great. It was even better than great. Walking was even better than great. And then there was running. And then there was riding a bike. And then there was falling down and getting back up again. Bringing that innocent willingness to, and curiosity to kind of a what the heck kind of attitude to changing the words we use, the thoughts we think, to make sure that there is an energetic match between what we want and what we say, so that what shows up is what we mean. What we want, what we say, match what shows up as what we mean. Because otherwise it looks like this. It looks and feels like a door that is wonky on its hinges. Because it is. One last quote. And then I have just a little bow for you. Ernest Holmes reminds us, we have within us a power that is greater than anything we shall ever contact in the outer. A power that can overcome every obstacle in our life and set us safe, satisfied, and at peace, healed and prosperous, in a new light and in a new life. Mind, all mind, is right here. It is God's mind, God's creative power, God's creative life. We have as much of this power to use in our daily life as we can believe in and embody. What we mean. What do we mean? Is it a match? Do the words and the music match? Do the words match the dream and show up as what we mean? If you would say with me these affirmations, please. Every day, in every way, I am new. Who I am today is open and available to good and greater good. Who I am today sees with fresh eyes and loves with a fresh heart. Who I am today is willing to live as if life itself is living through me. And so it is. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.